All right, we're doing a video about the 7 Democrats most likely to run for president if Biden bows out. Now, I've said before, I don't think Biden is going to bow out for a couple of reasons. Um, but I always find articles like this interesting to look at because it shows you some of the people that are, just being considered. Even if they don't run in 2024, they could run at some later point. Then it'll be like nice foreshadowing. President Biden's statement this week that it remains to be seen if he'll run for re-election has promoted some Democratic chatter about whether they'll have a different candidate for the White House in 2024. If Biden doesn't run again, a number of Democrats are expected to wade into the presidential waters. But even Vice President Harris isn't seen as a definitive leading contender in such a situation, Democrats acknowledge privately. There's not one clear candidate and there's not a rising star, said one top Democratic donor. Here's who is generating the most talk and the most confidence. Number one, Kamala Harris. While Harris 57 has seen her own approval rating fall at times during an up and down tenure as vice president, she remains the top non-Biden possibility for 2024. Strategists say it will be difficult to convince black women who helped catapult Biden to the White House to vote for anyone else as the party's standard bearer. And as one strategist pointed out, no one is going to win the nomination without winning in the South. While Harris had a rocky start during the first year of the administration, generating headlines for both gaffes and a string of staff departures, she has sailed into the role. She has also made women's rights one of her issues out on the trail, an issue that can only help her political prospects with the Democratic base as the Supreme Court decision overturning the Roe v. Wade ruling on abortion rights continues to reverberate. So, the thing that Harris has going for her is that she's Biden's VP. Although it should be noted that just because you're vice president doesn't automatically mean you're going to be the nominee for the party in the next election. You can look at Cheney, for example. Who now, to be fair, he didn't run, but still. There's a couple of problems with this article's logic relating to her. For one thing, they say that the Democrats can't win without winning the South. And I'm assuming they're talking about the primary because Democrats lose the South every election. Um, Harris did not win any states in the primary. She dropped out before voting even began. She was polling pretty poorly, and she kind of just fizzled out before a lot of the other people did even. So I don't know where they're getting this idea from. And then they talk about she makes women's rights a main issue of her tenure as VP. But remember, this is because they mentioned Roe v. Wade, but she's the same person who, after Roe v. Wade got overturned, said, "We just never thought to codify Roe v. Wade because we figured Republicans would leave it alone because it's been law for almost 50 years. So I don't think she's as strong of a candidate as this article is making her out to be. I think she at best she's like a middle contender. The only way I can see her definitely getting the nomination is if she's like the only person running, which I don't think would happen. Okay, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the two Biden administration fixtures are the top two non-Biden Democrats on our list. The most likely alternative after them are two governors. The first is Michigan's governor, who came closer than many realized being Biden's pick for vice president. Now Whitmer, 51, is catching the eyes of Democrats as she runs for re-election. This week, she opened up a 16-point lead over her Republican opponent, Tudor Dixon, in a Detroit Free Press poll. Whitmer has made it a point to lean in on abortion rights in particular. At a recent event, she highlighted her role in the fight. "The only reason Michigan continues to be pro-choice state is because of my veto and my lawsuit," she said, according to CNN. The remarks refer to a lawsuit Whitmer filed to prevent a Michigan abortion ban from happening. She often points out she filed the lawsuit even before Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court in June, a move that will surely appeal to the base in the coming years. I don't really have much to say about her. She just seems like another whatever Democrat. Doesn't really stand. I mean, all the Democrats have the same position of being pro-choice, so I don't see where she's got something over the other ones. Yeah, she did something pro-choice before they got rid of the right to even decide. What was a women's right to choose with Roe v. Wade a couple months ago. That's what a Democratic governor is supposed to be doing, protecting people's right. Basically, it's like doing something you're supposed to be doing, and then because it happened before the rights got overturned anyway, um, you're getting like I guess a participation trophy. Good job for doing what we wanted you to do. Okay, Governor Gavin Newsom. At a time when Democrats have been craving a leader who would get in the faces of Republicans, Newsom, the California governor, appeared to do battle. Newsom, 54, made headlines in July when he took the fight directly to Ron DeSantis, running an ad in the Sunshine State blasting the Florida governor and the conservative culture there. Freedom, it's under attack in your state. Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors, he said in The Spot, which ran on Fox News programming throughout the state. Earlier this month, he continued his aggressive stance by paying for billboards in some conservative states, including Mississippi, Texas, Indiana, and Oklahoma. His message that abortion is still legal in California. He has still got a lot to prove, but he has certainly made Democrats pay attention, one strategist said. So Newsom's been my governor for was about 5 years now, 4 years, because he won in 2018. That was when he got elected the first time. The problem I have with him is that he's never really led on any issue besides same-sex marriage. He's actually been someone that's been opposed to single parent. That basically like gutted it in the states. So I really, he's another one of these people where he's the most basic Democrat you could get. He's like a younger guy, so that's like he appeals visually to people as well. But I just don't see anything there. But I guess these voters are the ones that'll see stuff. Oh, and the snake herself, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of Massachusetts. The one-time presidential hopeful has made it clear she has one race on her mind in 2024, her own re-election to the Senate. But Democrats say there would be a place for her if Biden decides not to run again. Warren, 73, has continued to be a top advocate on Capitol Hill for issues important to Democrats, including climate change, abortion, and gun safety. But when she asked about the next presidential election, she consistently punts. We've got to stop the catnip about 2024, she told Axios this summer. If we start getting tangled up on 2024 and fail to pay attention to business in 2022, that is not only going to hurt us in 2022, it is going to bite us on the rear end in 2024. So look, Warren is someone who I agree with on some issues, and that's with a lot of Democrats, usually on like the social stuff, but she seems to be like more progressive leaning than most of the other ones. But I consider what she did to Sanders, where she tried to basically say that he was sexist by claiming that when they met privately, he told her that a woman couldn't win the presidential election against Trump. I consider what she did to be one of the biggest backstabs between people of very similar ideologies in recent American political history. And she's 73, which means that she could, I'm like, this is nothing to do with her age. She could run again in 2028 for all I care, because she would then only be like around the age that Biden is now. But I mean this very sincerely. I have no desire to see her run for president again. If she has to resort to dirty tactics like that because her poll numbers start to decrease, I would rather she just sit in the Senate and get reelected in 2024 and then 2030 and then I guess 36 as well. And then after that, leave and she can go down as one of the most progressive senators and, actually like stand for something when she's not trying to win the White House. I would prefer that over her running for president ever again. And I will vote for her under no circumstance. I really hated what she did. It was unforgivable. And I used to defend her, but not after that. Senator Bernie Sanders. It's tough for some Democrats to see the senator from Vermont launching another presidential campaign. After all, he is 81 years old, and if elected, will be nearing 90 by the end of his term. But Sanders has become such a staple of the Democratic Party since his first White House bid in 2016 that it's hard to rule out a run. And if he did compete, he'd definitely have support. This article has this thing in front of it. Whether there's a debate that matters to the base on student loans or climate change, he's at the heart of it, one strategist said. So people are using Sanders' age against him. And I've said before, don't sit here and tell me to vote for, and what is it, 82-year-old Biden in 2 years, but then tell me, oh no, we can't have 83-year-old Sanders running again. That extra year is just too much. Now, I don't care how old Sanders is, and I've explained to people before. If a candidate is too old for you, if a candidate is like on the older side, whatever, they can just get a VP that's younger, and then if something happens to them, the VP can take over, and they pick a vice president that has similar positions to them that they trust, and just it's that's why age is not an issue for me with these people. But yeah, if Sanders ran again, I would support him. I think it would be harder for people to take it seriously than it was the last time. But that's, I mean, that's how it is with this stuff. People, you have an underdog, and they try to run, and they see how well they can do, and sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. I mean, at a certain point, we all have like beliefs. I mean, look at Trump back in 2015. People were laughing at the idea of him winning, not only even like winning the election, but actually being the Republican nominee. And sure enough, look at what happened. So if he ran again, I would support him. I don't think he will. But I also believe that that should be a choice for him to make, and we shouldn't get caught up on stupid stuff like age when the leading candidate, the president himself, is only a year younger. And it just occurred to me, I actually skipped over the mayor. The transportation secretary has been a popular figure in the Democratic Party since his 2020 presidential run, when he surprised the base with his come out of nowhere ascent. The mayor's current role has sent him around the country to boast about popular infrastructure projects, something that can only help him down the road. Just last month, Mayor Pete Forty appeared in the swing states of Florida, New Hampshire, Nevada, and Ohio. The mayor's stature with voters could have taken a beating with the rail. I don't care. He's another one of these people that stands for nothing, and just it's the same old you know just just empty suit tactics. Oh, guy with funny name that is young and articulate. Okay, what are his positions? Nothing. They talk about him surprising people by how well he was doing. What? How well did he even do? He came in what, second place in Iowa, and then that was it. He was gone. So I don't know what even the purpose of that was. And last but not least, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Almost no one in the Democratic Party has had the meteoric rise of AOC, as she's known. And while most strategists doubt that the Congresswoman from New York will run for president just yet, her name is constantly bandied about when Democrats complain that their bench is weak. The number one question strategists ask when they talk about her is whether she'll even be of age to run for the highest office in the land. The answer is just barely. She turns 35 a month before the 2024 election. Besides her age, another question that would undoubtedly come up is whether Ocasio-Cortez's politics are too liberal to win a Democratic primary or general election. Warren and Sanders, after all, lost to Biden in 2020. So, the problem I have with AOC, and look, I don't think she should run in this year. I think 2028 or 32, I probably would prefer her in. But just like the biggest issue that she has, and it's something that Sanders does not have. It's why he's always been, in my opinion, the most preferable of any of the candidates from the last two cycles, is that she gets caught up on the social stuff and, you know, I feel harassed and my rights as a woman. And there are voters that get turned off to that. When she sits there and she talks about student loan debt, right, ballooning, people losing their jobs. If they get a job, it's not paying enough for them to even be able to afford their stuff. Those are things that actually resonate with people and make it seem like she has something to offer in terms of having a discussion about issues that are affecting a multitude of people. But I can't be certain that if she runs for president, she's going to temper back some of her worst features as a as a speaker, which is to get caught up on this stuff that is considered, I don't want to use the word, but woke or otherwise, not substance based. Because that's one of the reasons why the Democrats, in my opinion, don't resonate with people. They don't talk about issues. They feel, I mean, what was it? They were called Martha's Vineyard folk. These people that are just these latte sipping coastal, pricks that sit in their little jacuzzi and they tell you about all these issues that you have. Whether like that's why I really can't be confident about her ability to win. And it has nothing to do with her actual positions. I think if she ran and all she did the entire campaign is just talk about things that affect people from start to finish, just every time you ask her something, it's about some issue that affects some different person. I think that would be very resonant. But she too often, I'll put it like this: too often she sounds like Warren, and too little does she sound like Sanders. There's too much of that woman stuff, and I'm part of this oppressed group, and you can't do that if you want to resonate with a voter base that is mostly concerned about its own issues. Voters do not care about you feeling marginalized or let me tell you this story about this relative of mine. They want to know what you are going to do if you ascend to the highest office in the land to fix the problems that they have. So, out of this list, the only two I think have like the slimmest chance of winning. And a lot of it, I shouldn't even say because a lot of it does depend on who they run against. But the only two I would vote for are probably Sanders and AOC, and with her, it's like debatable. Um, but I find an article like this really interesting because when they talked about Sanders, they have the part where they mention the different issues that he's like at the center of, climate change, for example. With a lot of the other people, they don't. I mean, like with Harris, they mentioned women's rights, but with the others, they really don't talk much about what their actual positions are, and that just tells you that these elections. I'm gonna close the video out by saying this. Somebody one time compared elections, especially the presidential ones, to being like a beauty pageant or some kind of like popularity contest, right? Oh, this candidate is pretty and they're an eloquent speaker, and they were able to tie with but what is the difference? What are their positions? What are they saying that resonates with people any more than what the other one is saying? Like, I wish more time was spent on that. So I hope you enjoyed, and I like this article because it's an interesting. Articles like this are time capsules into what could end up happening, and when they don't, it's always interesting to go back and read this stuff. At least in my opinion. I know I'm in the minority, but still.